Today we're going to be going over the Palomino Real-Lite. We're going to be basically starting right up front here. This guy here is going to be your holder for your 7-way cord. This guy is long enough to where it will stretch to the back end of your tow vehicle to plug in. Or if you have the truck bed plug. Right next to that is where our battery disconnect is. Basically, whenever you are plugged in to Sure Power or you're plugged to the tow vehicle, you want this in the on position. The only time you're really going to turn this key like so and pull it out is when you're storing it and you're not using it. That way, if something was left on, nothing would potentially drain the battery on you. You do also have a hookup here to where if you needed to try to get some power to because the batteries did die, and access where you can hook up jumper cables to it. This is where our 7-way also plugs into the coach. All right, as we come around over here to the side, we're going to have our water compartment station. Basically, you got your fresh water fill on this side. It is gravity fed. Basically, you just stick the hose in and let it fill. Read the monitor panel inside. When it reads full, shut the water off. Overfilling it can cause damage both to the outside of the coach and on the inside. Right next to that is where your city water connection is. With this, you always do want to make sure that you have a pressure regulator at the water spigot first. From there, your options of an inline water filter, and then your blue or white water drinking hose. From there, you'll hook up to here, and you'll be ready to use the water system. The nice thing is you have an on-demand water heater. We'll talk about that here in just a second. As long as it's turned on inside and on the switch here, as soon as you turn that hot water on and the propane, you will start getting hot water within a few, usually within about 10 to 15 seconds, it'll start heating that water up for you. And we'll talk a little more about that once we have stepped inside. So with the water heater, like I said, it is considered to be an on-demand style. This is a pressure relief valve here. This is going to be your switch, your main switch. If this switch is not on, the control panel inside is inoperable. So this does have to be on. Other than that though, there isn't really anything else you have to do. Whenever you do go to winterize your coach, you do winterize this. But you shut this switch off so it isn't trying to heat the antifreeze up as you're winterizing. Right here is going to be our cable satellite hookups. They do provide a 110 outlet for you. This is where our 30 amp power cord plugs in. It does come with the coach. Up here we have our outside shower, the options of hot and cold water. Inside here is going to be our 30-pound propane tank. Option to turn it on is just single regulated, a single tank. This guy was filled minus what was used to test the propane system. Down here is where you quick access to drain your tanks. Pretty much you got your black handle here for the black tank, which I had that partially open, and then our gray tank. Once again, read the monitor panels inside, and that will show you when the tank is full. Alright, so inside here is going to be where our switch is. To be able to use our remote, you do have to make sure that you hit this button, and as you see, that green light just popped on. If for some reason our remote came out of sync with the system, you just plug this guy in, and generally it will resync the controller to the camper. They do also provide a secondary one of these as well. There's a red one in the owner's bag, and it also does come with a cable as well. But basically with this guy, nice thing is that you can control each individual leg, and you can control all of them. To lift, to lower. We ain't going to do that a whole lot because I do have the steps down on the other side. But basically, whenever you're going to get on and off the tow vehicle, raising and lowering this guy, anything like that, that's what you're going to use here. Depending on how the legs are hooked to its board, one leg does usually have a tendency to move a little faster than the other one. So you just got to kind of keep an eye on it. Normally when I notice that, it's usually one of these two back legs that usually moves faster than the other ones. When that happens, you just stop and you just go to that individual leg, say it's the left one, and then you'll just lift to bring it back down and make it flush. If you want, elevate it up a little higher if you want, and then continue to drop them all at the same time. You just do have to keep an eye on that. Near the end of the video, There might be a brief pause. What we'll do is that we will try to get this guy lowered, and I'll show you how to put up our rear deck. But there's going to be a little bit of a pause to try to save on the time frame. All right, so with our deck, these guys here just snug right onto here, and it just kind of locks right on in, just like so. All right, you got this guy here. Basically what I like to say is if you wanted to try to open this back deck, you can wrap this door around and actually secure this to the door, and then this will help keep this from falling over on you, and keep that door secured. So if you wanted to try, if it was sitting lower to the ground, you just wanted to use the deck to get on and off of, you can do so. But with that being said, basically when you're going to fold these down to lift the ramp part up, you're just going to lift this guy. This here is a locking mechanism where this twists here will lock this in place. You just unlock this, you're going to pull it out, you're going to bring this out like so, then this guy will flip down. This flips over. Right here it has a secure bungee to bungee it to the ramp or your party deck. And then it does also have a snap here that will snap it into place also for a secondary hook. We are going to go ahead and open this back up because there is a few things that I do have to show you out here once we step inside and then come back out here. And then of course this one we do the same thing. We flip down and lock. These guys up here are going to be what locks your arms, or pretty much locks your deck in place for travel. We'll come back and talk about the steps here in just a moment. You do got two outside speakers. You do have an awning here as well, but we will demonstrate the awning on the deck side because we do have another camper next to us that's pretty close, so I'm not able to extend this out fully. This here is going to be your furnace intake and exhaust. We try not to block anything, but we do like to recommend mud dauber screens to keep mud daubers and wasp out of there. This here is going to be the back of your fridge. Mainly, there isn't a whole lot you have to do in here. The only thing you would maybe do is check for mud dauber nests. All right, so we will now come back over here to our door area. One thing you do have to do is you do have to make sure that this door is fully open for the steps. Basically, your steps will just come up, and these guys will lock right into place. All right, when the door is shut, it keeps it snug so it isn't vibrating, bouncing down as it goes down the road. You do these guys right here are so you can adjust the feet. So if this guy is on the tow vehicle, these steps should be able to fold down, and then you'd be able to just leave it on the vehicle or on the vehicle if you want. But basically, I'll just kind of pull this out here. You can just pull them out, slide them in. One thing you do have to note though is with the steps is that you do want to make sure these guys are as flat with the threshold as possible. Too much of an elevation can cause damage to both the entry door and the screen door if you are not careful. All right, we're going to go ahead and step inside. Basically right here is going to be where your fire extinguisher is located. When we step in, we'll step up here, and up here is going to be where our control panel is actually located. We're going to go ahead and kind of go over this right here. Pretty much this guy here is going to be your living room lights. Go ahead and turn that on for us so we can see. Awning light one light is going to be the awning for the door side of the coach. For the awning lights for the rear or the party deck side is actually going to be on this control knob right here. Basically, it'll click, you can turn it on, and then it's actually adjustable so you can adjust the brightness to it. And then you'll feel that click to shut it off. This here is going to be our tank statuses, and it does also tell you the status of the battery. But then we got the fresh tank, black tank, and the gray tank. The water pump, the only time you're using the water pump is if you're using the fresh water tank. If you're hooked to city water, you do not need that guy. And then you got tank heaters, pretty much your little heating pads on the tanks. They got built-in thermostats, and they monitor the tanks once they get below a certain level. or a certain temperature, they will automatically come on, and then they automatically shut off. But this switch has to be on for those to be operable. Then this here is to bring your awning 1 out, which is going to be on the side of the coach, the door side, and then awning 2, which is going to be for the party deck side. We're actually going to go out there here in just a moment. I'll go ahead and get that opened up in just a minute. It is breezy, so I do want to make sure I can keep an eye on that as we're bringing that out. It is usually try to be recommended that you don't want to try to have them out when it is windy or really strong gusts of wind. Down below is going to be our thermostat for just the furnace. Pretty much there's a click to shut it off, and then from there you just turn it on, and then just set the knob wherever you want. It's got the thermostat down here, and it'll shut itself on and off. This here is where that on-demand water heater controller is. Pretty much to turn it on. 124 is as high as it goes for desired temperatures, but then you can just adjust it like so. This here just changes between Fahrenheit and Celsius. And then that's all you really got to do. From there, you would turn on your hot water. When this guy comes on, you'll see a flame or a fan icon, and then you'll see a flame icon, meaning that it has ignited and started heating up the water. So down here at the very bottom is where our carbon monoxide and LP detector is going to be located. Basically with this guy, since it's propane or carbon monoxide in the coach, this guy will start going off. We are going to push the button and test this here, just so you guys know what you're looking for. Okay, and that's going to do it again. And we should go back to green. Oh no, this is the other style. It'll go off again. So with the newer style, it actually has 2 different beeps. The first beep is for the LP. That second solid beep is carbon monoxide. It is always recommended that you do test these guys every 9 to 14 days. And these guys do have a life expectancy of roughly 10 years, but they are known to go out within that 10-year time frame. But you do want to make sure you test that, okay, periodically, just to make sure that it is probably working as it should. Okay, now we're going to sneak out here to the party deck. I want to go ahead and open this door so I can kind of be able to see our awning. And then we're going to go awning 2. We are extending. Step out so you guys can kind of see it as it goes out. Generally what you're looking for is you're going to be looking for those arms there to be almost pretty much in a straight position, but it does stop all in its own as well. Usually right about there is going to be a good stop point. All right. Then what you're going to do is we'll come out as we like to rock around on our guy. So I'm going to have you come onto this side for me.
Certainly.
So basically, just because I feel uncomfortable on these guys, you would take this guy here, you're going to pop it to unlock it. It'll automatically pop out on you if you ain't careful. But basically this guy here will lock in behind this piece here. Okay, this guy will come over here. You twist to lock it into place. Then you got a push button here. Push to extend till it locks into our next piece. This piece gets lifted up. The bottom goes in first. You push in the top, push it down to lock it into place. From there, you extend this guy out, and then you're going to flip this upward to lock it into place. Okay, you'll do that on both sides. Okay, now this guy does have also another option as well. Let me go ahead and bring this guy down. Once again, we're going to unhook that. This is going to slide down. We're going to push this to bring that back up to our other spot. But it ain't going to do that until we go to release it and push it in. As you see, it just locked back in. But this guy here, there you go. This guy here can actually pop out. We'll go into this side piece right over here in the middle. Get that guy in there. It's just a quarter twist or quarter turn to lock it in. And then you got these little spacers up here. This one kind of slid on me a little bit. This is always the fun part, trying to get this to line up. But basically, you can set that guy right in there. He's usually right about there in position. And then once again, you would just lock your piece into place, just like so. But as you see, you got to make sure it gets pretty snug and tight. Usually this one's usually the little trickier one to mess with. Where did our... Oh, there it is. And then quarter turn, pops back out. And we're going to put this one back in. If I can get that guy to stop sliding on me there. Twist to lock in. Oh, I didn't twist it all the way. There it goes. And this here will slide. And you just push to lock it into place. All right. So in this compartment over here is where we're going to be able to have our TV, which is 12 volt connected, so it's be able to watch it through the 12 volt system or the batteries. This is where our TV is hooked up to. This is a TV antenna booster, but this has got no power. It's just to help feed for the rear TV. That guy does lock in. Basically, you got our power here to turn it on. And then from here, we're just picking up the local channels from the St. Louis area. Whenever you get to your new area, you do got to rescan for new channels. Basically, to do so, you're just going to push your menu button. I push the arrow key back one time, it'll take me to channels. And then I'll go down to auto scan. You hit enter, it asks you, you want to go to auto scan, go to yes, and then it'll start scanning for channels. I'll show you where the booster is located inside. You do have to have that on for it to have signal. Then we got our outside fridge. This is 110 only. You do have to be plugged into Sure Power for this to have power. Then on the back side, we're going to have our radio for just out here. It's just two little outside speakers. The speakers on the side of the coach are controlled from the radio inside. And then our remote for the radio. Go ahead and set our TV remote up here. They do have the extra hard wire. They do have the extra wiring up here so that you can plug in. And then I'll flip this around so you guys can try to see that as well. There is a red, white, and yellow auxiliary hookup that is tied to the back of this radio. So if you wanted to watch a movie out here, you guys are able to use your radio as a DVD player. Just does not play Blu-rays. Down below, basically, it's just going to access that compartment area here for us, but we're able to use for storage. This door was locked originally. Our keys are located inside. I'll show you guys your keys here shortly. All right, as we step back inside, where I feel a little more comfortable. Basically, your bed here does fold out into a bed. Basically, you just lift and it slides down, just like so. Do apologize for my phone. It's most likely my girlfriend sending us baby pictures. I just recently had a baby in January, so I get daily photos. So yeah, there is storage on each side. Let's see, I think, where she put our stuff? Oh, here it is. All right, so my cleaner like to hide all my stuff on me sometimes. Basically, these guys here will sit right inside here. There's two of them, one for each side. She is also inside this compartment area. We'll go ahead and just kind of show you. See, she even threw my keys in here. See, I could have had a nice fun day trying to find your guys' keys. This here is going to be your manual crank tool for the stabilizing jacks. If for some reason the motor went out, you still have a way to crank them. This is going to be our monitor for our backup camera, which has been mounted and tested and hooked up. This is the old cover plate, so if you ever decide to sell the coach, You can take the camera with you, and you can put the original cover back on. Our box that has miscellaneous adapter hookups for the monitor. And then we got our owner's bag. Pretty much with the owner's bag, most of the appliances in the coach, the manuals are going to be in here. A lot of the manuals, a lot of manufacturers are starting to go paperless on the manuals. So there are a lot of online manuals. So if there's not a manual for something you're looking for in the coach, go online and try to kind of Google search for it. I hate to tell you that, but that is what you would have to generally try to do. Down below here is going to be where our fuse panel box is located. So basically everything that runs off the 110, so you got to be plugged into Sure Power to have, is going to be on the breakers, and they do have everything labeled for you. Everything that runs off the battery or the 12-volt system is going to be on the fuses, and once again, those are all labeled for you as well. Nice thing is, if a fuse gets blown in these, actually there's a red LED light that will light up to let you know that the fuse has been blown. Next, we got our microwave. The microwave's pretty self-explanatory. I do like to recommend setting the time for it on it. So if you go out and do something, you come back, you see the time ain't set. That means there was a power failure. You might want to check and see if it was from the campsite or the electric company. Then next, we got our hood range for our fan and our light. And then our stove. This guy does have to be lifted up like so. Then this guy here, you would just turn to the light position. Spark ignite. And then the oven, with the oven, I believe this one was, you had to use a I think I had to use so you do have to use a barbecue lighter to light the oven. Basically, you're going to look on the knobs. They're really hard to see, to be honest with you. I don't know why they didn't do it like this, but basically you're going to turn to the knob. You'll see a pilot on indicator. You're going to go there and push and hold it in while you light it with the barbecue lighter. Once it's been lit, make sure it's pressed and held in for 5 to 7 seconds, then you're able to set the temperature. The pilot usually does like to go out the first time you're trying to get it in the light. Then we got our sink here for the kitchen. This guy here you would turn on by hand. Same with the lights above the bedroom area up there. Up here we're going to have our TV. On the back side of this guy, once again, it's hooked up to 12 volt, so it runs off the battery. This is where our battery booster, or our antenna booster, is located. Basically, as you see, that light's on. Turn off that. If you're at a campground cable, or you're hooked to the campground or the cable connector and a campground cable, you'd have to turn that booster off for that cable signal feed to come through. When this booster is on, the antenna is the primary signal, so you got to cut that signal off for that cable feed to come through. And then once again, it's got the auxiliary hookups down here, so you can use the inside radio as a DVD player as well. Like I did say though, one thing that you do have to know is that this radio here, it does control the outside speakers on the side of the coach. Basically, that is going to be, so we have zone 1, which is our inside speakers. Zone 2 is outside. I don't know if you can hear that through the video, but it sounds like it's got some good sound to it out there. Turn that back down before I turn the inside ones back on. Cam preset stations, but like I said, it is a DVD function as well. The remote for him is going to be the same as the one outside. Same with our TV remote, basically the same remote as well. This guy does actually have a little hidden storage cubby compartment down here. And that is actually where I'm going to place these remotes, is right inside this compartment. All right, so with the upper bunk, I'm not going to kind of try to climb up there to show you things. I'm just going to kind of point them out. You got your fire exit window over here, so if there was an emergency where there was a fire, you couldn't get to the door, you do have a way to get out of the coach. Each side does have a storage compartment on each side. Each side also consists of a 110 hookups, 12 volt or USB hookup charging station, individual reader lights. There's 2 settings to the light. When you first turn it on, there's a little light that lights up where the light switch itself is located. And then when you push the second time, it turns on the light itself. Then we got our exhaust fan up here. You would open that up, hit your on button. It's got 4 different fan speeds. Fan speed 1, I will tell you that it It does struggle to actually start spinning, just because it's not geared that high, that strong. It does start going. You just gotta give it a second. But right now, I do believe I have it set in the highest setting, which there's nothing wrong with just turning it on and turning it off from that setting. We do have our smoke detector up here as well. A little closet area off to the side here also. All right, so then next we're gonna have our fridge. With the fridge, it is gas and electric optioned. Right now it's in auto, and auto is always looking for a 110 source. If you're not plugged into Sure Power, as long as the propane tank is on and there's propane in the tank, it will automatically switch over to propane. You can also swap it to propane just by pushing this button. It'll automatically swap over. The only way you're going to know if there's an issue is this check light will come on, and it normally beeps at you, letting you know that, hey, it didn't fire on propane. And then to turn that on and off. And inside the fridge, you can adjust the temperature setting of the fridge itself. There's actually a sticker right here. Just by sliding this up or down, you can make it warmer in here or cooler in here. I will tell you that usually in the dog days of summer, if it's above 100 degrees, your fridge does struggle to stay cool. Okay, these guys usually are meant to extract the heat out, but when it's hot, it's trying to use that venting on the outside to try to cool, and it's pulling in the warm air, trying to cool it. You know, trying to cool things down. It's generally, they're based off of the original refrigerators model. You know, they were meant to pull the heat out, not actually cool. Okay, so they do struggle. This guy down here at the bottom is going to be your furnace. Pretty much it's just single ducted, comes just out of there. There's a little eyelet in there so you can actually look and see if the flame came on and the flame is going. Our GFCI reset is down below here. Also right here is where our fuse control panel is located. Basically what this guy does is it monitors the battery, and when you're not plugged into Sure Power, once the battery gets below a certain level, it would allow the current from the panels to come through and charge the battery for you. A couple different options just so you can change the battery type that you put in. So if you decide to change the battery, it's just an acid-based standard battery in there at this time.
And this is for the solar?
And this is for solar. All right, so next we're going to pull this guy out right here. Right here inside this area is going to be where your two battery boxes is located, so you can actually install a second battery. At this time there is only one in this one over here. When you do go to add a second battery, you do have to make jumpers to jump across. Also inside here, this is where you would go to winterize your coach. You're going to have this piece here that would go into your antifreeze jug, and then you got your valve right here that you would turn so that the water pump is pulling from this hose. When it's in up position like so, it is pulling water from the fresh water tank that's located underneath us here. And then to drain him is going to be located right down here at the bottom. There's this guy right here, a little plunger. You pull it up to drain, you push it down to close the tank off. So if you're trying to use the tank, I'm going to go ahead and push it down. So if you decide to use the fresh tank, it is ready to start being used. You do always have to be kind of careful when you do go, if you take this off, you go to put it back on, you do have to watch. I don't know why they did that, but they got wires in this corner. So you do always got to kind of help push those wires back a little bit as you try to push this in. It can be a fun time. It can be a little tedious. There we go. There we go. Just like so. All right. So next we are going to move here to the bathroom. Pretty much you got your lock here for it. Twist to unlock. This guy will slide open. It does have a magnetic here. So we got our toilet. For the toilet, if you're going to use the, have to do your number 2, lightly press on the pedestal to add water to the tank. Do your business, flush. It'll all go down. It always usually will leave water in there. You want to try to have some kind of liquid in there so that seal doesn't get dry rotted or brittle. As you see here, you got a 110 hookup out here, but it does say before using the receptacle, it should say receptacle, install a dry dock. What they mean by the dry dock is going to be this plate down here. Pretty much so that way you're not sitting into the shower floor of it. They always do recommend having this there. But with that being said, this is going to be where, you know, you would take that guy off. You would take your shower. It's going to be located right here. You do have the curtains to close it off, so no water could get outside or to the receptacle or anything like that. Then we got our sink here. So before the shower in, you would turn your water on, and then you pull this up for the water to start coming out of the shower head. And then pretty much you just have like a small little cubby space where you can kind of store your toilet paper. All right, so from there we've made our way around the coach. At this time we are going to do a quick pause and get the camper down, and then we'll show you how to raise the lower deck.